This is Czapek. Not Czapek, not Czapek, Czapek. CZ Ch. Czapek. So this is the Czapek catalog, and it is one of my favorite catalogs. From an outside point of view, it looks fairly normal. It's sort of that long and short design of the catalog. It does have a hardcover, which is nice, and the hardcover itself has a really nice texture and this pattern and it has this sort of guilloche cover that is reminiscent of some of their watches. And in general, this catalog really feels special. It's not big, it's not bulky, it's just special and sort of personal. When you open up the cover, you get to see that this catalog is a limited edition. Now, I'm sure limited edition doesn't really mean much, but the fact that they have limited edition and it's numbered. I have number 897. A numbered catalog. Who would have thought? To go to the effort of actually stamping each one individually with its own number, that's something. And we open the watch up and we come to the price list, which does not fit in this catalog. It's just a regular sheet of paper, a couple sheets of paper folded in half. It's price list, and it shows the prices with color photos of the watches, which is nice. The binding on the inside part of the catalog is also really nice. It's sort of this canvas looking material, black and white, and it feels nice. The pages are matte in texture with good quality printing, and they're pretty thick pages. Though of course, being matte, that lowers the quality aspect of them slightly. The print quality is great, the inks are good, no problems there, and they have a folding out section. The second page of the catalog folds out into this really long timeline. That's the history. That brings us to the contents. It starts with the history. I do like the history of Czapek. It starts out where Patek Philippe starts out, at Patek Czapek and Company. I also like that Franciszek Czapek, who would go to found Czapek and actually Patek Czapek and see, he had to flee to Switzerland after active participation in the Polish uprising. Poland at that time was not on the maps of Europe. It was taken apart in the partitions, and there were a couple of uprisings among the Polish nation that still remained and kept their culture, which I'm Polish, so I really like that. He founded Patek Czapek & C on May 1st, so with Antoine Norbert de Patek. The partnership between them lasted 6 years. The contract ended and they parted ways. Patek would of course partner with Philippe and would create Patek Philippe, which we all know today. And Czapek was a great watchmaker, created amazing timepieces, and well, we don't really know when he died. He just sort of vanished, and nothing really remained of him. Until in 2012, a group of watchmakers decided to reintroduce Czapek, well, basically create their company with the name of Czapek. I do like the history very much, in large part because I myself am Polish. But in general, I think this is a very well put together timeline. And this folding out business really draws your attention into the timeline and makes you want to read it and see what it's about. Now we move on to the collection and the movement, the SXH1 caliber, which is a, well, they don't say in-house, but they say specifically designed for Czapek watches. And they have a picture on the next page of this caliber next to an original caliber from a Czapek pocket watch. I find this to be wonderful to compare them. They did keep many of the style parts of the movement of the original pocket watch movement, but they did make it more modern. And this watch is powder coated. Well, not powder coated, but this watch has that frosted finish. It's finished to a very high level, and I think it gives an option for people who don't like Geneva stripes. I personally think I prefer the original pocket watch caliber, actually. I think, at least on these photos, it looks more complex and, well, nicer. And it really has this art aspect to it. These little details, this depth on the plates, the sort of different heights of it, all the different bridges, and it really kind of shows that this new watchmaking after the quartz crisis, it doesn't seek that art quality that the old movements had. This incredible amount of details, and the thought that went into designing such a thing wasn't really, well, okay, how can we make the mechanism simpler to build and easier to service? No, it was, how can we make this absolutely beautiful? Remember, watchmakers at a time were people who made watches for kings and queens and the royal courts, and they could afford to spend the time and money on making these watches, well, fit for a king. Quite literally fit for a king. While modern watchmakers don't get that sort of time. They don't have the time to make something like this. See, this new style of watchmaking seeks perfection in the old techniques of watchmaking, but what it misses is the art aspect of watchmaking. At least in my opinion, of course. Moving on to the actual collection of watches, we got something that I really do appreciate. The Quai de Berger, whatever, however you pronounce it. I can't read that kind of italics and much less pronounce it. Something I really do appreciate is the engraved scroll work on the crown guards on this specific model. Scroll work in this style is something I think is lost in modern watchmaking and is very rare to see, and I really do love it when a company does it. The watches in general have this design where they have the center hours and minutes, then a subdial on the bottom left has the small seconds, while a subdial on the bottom right has both the day of the week and the power reserve. Now I see one problem with that. This is a 7-day movement. You wind it on a Saturday, and then you don't have to wind it for the rest of the week. One problem with that is really more of a personal problem with me than with the watch. I just like to wind the watch, and wouldn't winding a watch with a power reserve that also serves as the day complication, wouldn't that sort of, well, ruin the day? For me, if I had this watch, it would probably always be Sunday. And we have the more complicated collection. You have a suspended tourbillon, which sort of stays with that hours, minutes, and then 2 subdials on the left and right, but personally I wouldn't really call that a connection. The hands, the flower, I call them flower, the sort of flowery hands are more of a connection. And again, we have handcrafted engraving. Acanthus leaves? Interesting. Scroll work. I adore scroll work, especially when it is with a background. Whether it's a blackened background like this, or previously we had that sort of textured background. I love that. You also have personalized timepieces and personalized micro paintings. Very cool micro paintings, I think. I think because you have the 2 subdials on the left and right, it really does leave room for a micro painting, and that micro painting can really pull the design together and make it a beauty. Something about unique rare stones. A secret sentence. On an enamel dial, you can have a personalized message or motto or something like that that's only seen in a certain direction of the light. I think that is something I haven't seen anywhere else, and it could be interesting. Now, how much it costs, they don't say. And that brings us to the end of the catalog. Now on to my thoughts and opinions. I am usually extremely wary of new companies, new watchmakers that basically adopt an old historic name. In many cases, they only do that because in this day and age it's very difficult to stand out as a watchmaker and to present something that people will see. And by having an old historic name, you can basically add a couple hundred years to your heritage in an instant just by having that name. Now, I think Czapek is done quite well. I think these people have really tried to stay true to the Czapek style of watchmaking, and I also think that they are devoted. I think that they are pretty devoted to making the Czapek watches really Czapek watches. And where do they stay true to Czapek? In that design of the watch, their original caliber being essentially the same as the design of some of Czapek's pocket watches. Now they do have their own additions, the frosted finish on the movement, and the more complicated watches, the tourbillon, the chronograph. Those are all modern reinterpretations, well, sort of additions to Czapek's watches. Now, it seems, because of all these things, it seems to me that the person in charge is really vested in preserving Czapek. And I think that the biggest reason why is because they have a museum of old Czapek, original Czapek pocket watches. And you can see what Czapek was, and because of that, I do think that this company has done something right. Now, the value of these watches isn't really amazing, but it also isn't really too overpriced. It's sort of this middle ground of you are paying a bit for the design, but not too much that I wouldn't recommend it. This is the watch for a person who wants a Swiss watch that doesn't conform to the regular qualities of a Swiss watch, like the sort of classic look of a time-only piece, even time-only and power reserve, and the movement, well, like I said, someone who doesn't want Geneva stripes. And the catalog, I think, in this case really does showcase this brand. It's small and not very showy, and it seems like just another company, but if you start looking at the details, it really becomes special. And overall, this catalog, This catalog is not something I would consider a coffee table catalog. This catalog really is a catalog that you keep for yourself. This is something that you hold close to your heart and you not hide it, but keep it to yourself. There's really not that many Swiss watch brands in the price bracket of Czapek that I respect. Well, that's a whole nother topic. But Czapek, I certainly do respect what they do, and I don't know, I just really like them. And a numbered catalog. Whoever thought of that is a genius. Thanks for watching the video to the end. If you liked it, please subscribe and like the video. Perhaps consider supporting me on Patreon. Any support would be greatly appreciated. I will be coming out with catalog collectors once a week for the foreseeable future. Of course, until I run out of catalogs. We'll see what happens then. See you in the next one.